And that's been our goal, to take care of each and every one of you the best way we possibly can. Can we do it? Can we do everything for everybody? No, we can't. We certainly try our best to reach out. So how does the bank survive, Marblehead Bank survive in the big bank world? One of the ways is to have a high quality bank. Making sure that our assets are taken care of, make sure that we take care of your money in the very best way possible, making sure when we make loans, they're good loans. And for 110 consecutive quarters since 1990, Marblehead Bank has obtained the 5-star borrower rating, the very highest rating you can have in a bank. That rating is only given to 5% of the banks in the United States. So one of the tricks then about surviving in a big bank environment is to be a good bank. And to watch our money. I'm sure your parents always told you that don't spend your money foolishly, spend it wisely, invest it wisely, and those are the kids that really were successful as they grew up and went into business and went into the business world. That's been our challenge. Make sure that we take our money, invest it wisely, and that we take care of the people that are in this community. As you know, I want to show you a little bit on how the bank has grown over the years. And that's just since 2006 now. As you can see, if you look at this middle column here, we had $31 million in assets in 2006. You go all the way down to 2018, we're at $48 million. So we've had some nice growth, but we haven't had that tremendous growth. We believe in just having that nice, steady, improvement every year and you go up. You can see that in our loans too. Here in 2006, we had $13 million in loans. And now, in 2018, we're at $20 million in loans. And I'll tell you a little story in a second about Lakeside, which is pretty impressive. But the thing is, when I first came here in 1992, the first story I heard was Marblehead Bank doesn't lend money to anybody. And I'm not going to go there. But I can tell you now, as you can see by the numbers, the Marblehead Bank does a pretty good job lending. Not only do we do a good job of lending, we make good loans. Because Irving Mutaw, which I talked about, Irving Mutaw, when I got hired in 1992, he asked me one question. I won't tell you what he called me. He had this unique thing he called everybody a peckerhead. I don't know. That was just his language he used. He said, he said, how can you turn somebody down for a loan and still keep them as a friend? I said, because quite honestly, not everybody should have a loan. And the best thing that we can tell people is no. If they don't qualify for it, the worst thing I can do is give them the loan and have them fail, right? Exactly. So we're very cautious about the fact, and if there's a reason why we can't make the loan, I will sit down with that person, and so will Pete, and we will spend all the time we need necessary to explain to them why we can't do the loan, and how they can get better to get their loan in the future. And some of you have dealt with me in the past and know that we do take that time and spend that effort with our customers to be able to do that. So it's extremely amazing that we are a $20 million loan bank right now. I hate to mention this, but I know it's going to come back to bite me one of these days. And we make all of our loans right here on the peninsula, so that's our CRA performance area, right on the peninsula area. So we have, let's read this real quickly. It says, Marblehead's residential lending was analyzed to determine the volume of lending inside and outside Marblehead's assessment area. Of Marblehead's total loans, 88% by volume, 83% by total dollars were made inside the assessment area. So here's our Nemo thing again. We reached out and made loans, but we made them in our own backyard where we know the people, we know the properties, and we know how to make them properly. So, and so what that has resulted in is what's called a Texas ratio. Texas ratio is where they take your total amount of loans and they divide it by how many are delinquent or how many have a problem. The higher you get to 100% to your capital, the more risky of a bank you are. Marblehead Bank is a 0 ratio bank. There's only 7 banks in the United States that are 0 ratio banks. And that's because right now, as of this day, Marblehead Bank does not have a delinquent loan, and we have not had a charge-off in the last 10 years. And it's not because we don't make loans, it's because we try to make the loans that benefit the people that we make our loans to. So reach out, but cautiously reach out, be wise, stay in your own backyard, make sure that you hire good quality people to stick around for 30, 40 years. It's a really awesome story about the Marblehead Bank and its success story. Now, this is my favorite slide. We started the office in Lakeside in 2014. First year we made 7 loans for $1.6 million in Lakeside. It kept on getting bigger. 2015 we made 11 for $2 million, 16 for $3 million, 17, 9 for $2 million. 2018 to date, we made over $3 million of loans in Lakeside. 10 loans. For a total of 53 loans and $12 million that we have invested in the Lakeside community. We are the #1 lender of mortgage loans in Lakeside. There's other banks that have done it and can do it. But the Marblehead Bank has made such an expertise of this area that we find that people have now found that we can do it more efficiently and have a better chance of getting their loan approved. When I first came here in 1992, I keep saying that because I like that date. But when I first came here in 1992, first thing I did is I studied the area. I wanted to see what we had. And I discovered that Lakeside was a very unique community because of the Lakeside lease. And as you know, that all of you have dealt with that at some point or another, and you know that the more you know about that lease, the better you're going to be. So I took that lease, studied it tremendously. That's a long lease. Studied through it, checked out its nuances. Then I took it to an attorney and had an attorney approve it. Then I took it from the attorney and took it to the secondary market. We are only one of 2 banks in the area that had the Lakeside lease approved on the secondary market. Because we took the time to do it, we took the time to do it right. So once again, we did our homework. We made sure that we invested wisely. And you can see how our relationship is budding and beautiful with the Lakeside community right now. We truly do appreciate the fellowship and the ability to come in and be with all of you here. And just the fact that you guys care enough to come out and see this little presentation tells me that, hey, what was that Sally Field used to say? Oh, they really do love me. So it's mutual, okay? But that's pretty much how the Marblehead Bank can stay relevant. One of the things about Nemo, that you know that Nemo had that little fin that was a handicap, you know? Well, the little banks have handicaps too. And our biggest handicap is regulatory authority. I mean, they expect us to follow the rules of the big banks, and sometimes that is very difficult to do, very expensive to do. And that's probably my biggest grief, is dealing with that scenario. Another thing is that competition, again, if we stay in our own backyard and take care of the Danbury community, we're not dealing up there on 53 with 11 banks. We're beating each other over the head trying to get whatever is out there. So we prefer to stay in our own backyard, deal with what our own backyard has to deal with. And have we had people that have been interested in the Marblehead Bank? Yeah, probably, but it's not going to happen. Because if we continue to give these kind of numbers and continue to operate with the kind of people we have, and have the partnerships with Lakeside and Otterbein and some of the other people in the community, there should be no reason why the Marblehead Bank won't be here for another 100 years. So that's our goal. That's the commitment that our board has. Again, there can't be any promises because you don't know what tomorrow brings, but that's where our head is in our direction right now. Marblehead Bank, strong bank, community-oriented bank, a Nemo bank that loves all of you, and we appreciate your love back to us. So that's the story of the Marblehead Bank, and that's the story of the Marblehead Bank and how we survive in a big bank environment. Is there any other questions that I can help you with today?
Bill, could you go back to your numbers table?
Sure.
With how your loans and assets have grown, please?
Sure. This one?
There, yes, please. Now, we can see that part of that growth in loans is related to Lakeside.
True.
Since 2014. Tell me if that also has been impacted by the Bay Point builds.
Bay Point's a little bit of a different direction. The thing again, you ever hear of the theory, don't put all your eggs in one basket? Mm-hmm. Okay, that is the theory of the bank regulators, okay? Our bank only has about $5 million in capital, which means that the biggest loan I can make is 15% of my capital, which is like $750,000. And our bank doesn't make $750,000 loans because that's too many eggs in one basket. Okay? So we make basically $500,000 loans and below. The Bay Point community is a very special community, and again, I've done some research on that, and we have done some work in there. We have made some loans in there. But their loans are running $1 million, $1.5 million. And that's just outside the scope of what the Marblehead Bank can do. Once again, realizing what we are, realizing what we can do best, and then going out after that business and staying in that backyard. So for us to make $1 million loan, it would be difficult.
So based on what you said, then, it is reasonable for me to assume that the loans you've made here in Lakeside max out at approximately $550,000.
Anything over $500,000, we would probably go to the board for special approval.
Okay.
We have not turned down a Lakeside loan right now because of the size of the loan. Basically, because the people that are buying the $1 million loans in homes in Lakeside have a pretty substantial investment of their own. They may have $500,000 down. They may have $200,000 down, which gets it into our ballpark. Now we're playing in our ballpark.
Yeah.
The other opportunity that we also have is, that, again, I told you earlier that we're tied into the secondary market. So even though the loan might be too big for us, we can take it to the secondary market and get it approved there. But anything over $727,000 on secondary market is considered a jumbo loan, which carries a higher premium and a higher interest rate. So, in fact, what happened, this is really interesting. What happened in Lakeside before 2014 is we had that bubble, a real estate burst, and when Lakeside was going really, really strong, homes were selling for about $350,000, $400,000, $500,000, right around that. But that was the sweet spot for Lakeside, okay? And then the bubble burst, and the investors, there was a lot of people investing in Lakeside, not because they wanted to invest in the community, because they wanted to flip. They would buy a house in 2010, sell it in 2011, make $20,000, because they were betting on the increasing price of homes. Well, that eventually busted. So what happened is these people that were investors tried to jump off the ship before they lost money. Well, what they did, there was some capital gains benefits for them to sell their properties at losses. So these $350,000 houses, people were selling them for $185,000, $200,000, $225,000. And what happened is it destroyed the appraisal value of the Marblehead community, because appraisals are based on the sales. So if we got a bunch of sales at $200,000 and $250,000, and you have a $400,000 house, you can see how difficult that is. But when we made the commitment to come into Lakeside in 2014, I brought all my appraisers in here. We reappraised a lot of the properties in Lakeside. Now we can get, I'm not saying just because of the Marblehead Bank, but because of the efforts of banks like the Marblehead Bank, we're able now to be able to tell you that you can get your financing in Lakeside. It took us a few years to get to that point, but it's exciting to know that financing is available. The biggest thing I'm dealing with right now with Lakeside is that people come into Lakeside, they want to buy a property, and they're not really knowledgeable on the lease and some of the issues that you're dealing with the lease. And so then what happens is they take it back to their banker, who says, yeah, Jim, if you want a loan, come on and get us, we'll take care of you. Then they get all the way to the closing and find out they can't do it, because their big bank doesn't want anything to do with the Lakeside lease. So then they call me up and say, can you close my loan in 1 week? Because they said that my bank wouldn't do it. Well, we can't do it in 1 week. I mean, there's just certain things we're required to do by federal law that we can't do a real estate loan in 1 week. But we try our best. And because of that effort, we've really made an inroad into the Lakeside community, and we're really excited about being here. Go ahead.
Do you have an idea, I don't care what time period, the last 2 years, but what is your average loan for a Lakeside property versus the Village of Marblehead average loan?
Actually, they're fairly similar, but the Marblehead loans are much bigger homes. Okay, so price-wise, they're about the same. And we're averaging about, on that report I showed you, since 2014, we're averaging about $250,000 on loans. Not the purchase price, but on the loans. There's a lot of homes in Lakeside that'll sell for $400,000, $420,000, and people have put a pretty substantial investment. And there is a lot of homes in Lakeside that really shocked me. There's a lot of homes in Lakeside that sell for cash. And it's just amazing the amount of cash that's available in some of these communities. You know. So that's a hard one to put a point on, because you might have a 900 square foot home that's selling for $325,000 here. Outside the gates of Lakeside, that might be a $2,500 square foot home. I have a home that I just sold on North Shore, and I had it for 22 years. I had about $250,000 in it when I built it, and I sold it for $285,000, 20-some years later, so, if that home would have been in Lakeside, I'd have done pretty well, probably. But that was almost a 3,000 square foot home, so that's it. Go ahead.
So, to your point of the Lakeside lease and the banks knowing, Marblehead knowing about the lease and how to help people in Lakeside, we bought our cottage in '91, and during our loan process, we went to 3 different banks. We started with Diamond Savings, and they kept, we can't do it, we can't do it, we can't do it, and finally we got to somebody that could. So we were able to get our loan approved, and that. Our next door neighbor, just a few years ago, they're from Texas, and they said, oh, I can just have my local bank that I deal with take care of this, and they said, Lakeside what? And so they couldn't do it, and so guess where they ended up?
Thank you.
Marblehead Bank.
And we do a lot of those, and we appreciate it.
Yeah, but to your point of, you know the area, you know Lakeside.
And there's other types of unique properties up there in Lakeside. Across from East Harbor State Bank, there's what's called a documentum. Documentums are really interesting.